Hello, and welcome back to the Creative Connection, where we explore how creativity, courage, and compassion meet in real life. I am excited about today's conversation is an opportunity for us to all slow down, to breathe, to listen. And it's not just to our voice, but to what's happening around us in our mind as well as our whole self, and maybe what's happening in the universe around us as we move into the next year. So I have always found for myself that cusp of December, January, where things sort of come to a screeching halt right about the week before the first. And it continues till about mid-January. And in that time, I find myself looking at transitions, shifts and changes that I had no idea were going on in the background. And sometimes I notice that things sort of bubble up, and I find myself needing a little bit more self compassion because there is an old loss or a grief that perks up at this time of year. My guest today is Dawn, and how I met Dawn was through someone else, and she was getting ready to do a summit called Compassionate Conversations, a journey through grief and hope. And so we started to have a conversation, then another conversation, and I am happy to be taking part in her summit that is happening in a very short period of time here in January. So, Dawn, who else are you besides the coordinator of this summit and the interviewer of all of us who I like to call us light leaders or healers who are helping people that are going through transition? So who is Dawn?
Well, I am a grief recovery coach. I have been a hospice nurse for 5 years. I've been a nurse for almost 14 years. Single mom, but just recently in the last few months, I have gotten married, and now I'm a bonus mom to 3 more kids and an extra dog. So we have 2 dogs. Just hoping that people realize they don't have to do it alone. I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother. I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because I think I just took part in another festival slash summit where I realized that what I needed to share with this group of women was that we don't have to do it all alone. But it sort of seems that we get going in this pattern and we start rushing and rushing and rushing. And before we know it, we have forgotten about ourselves in the process of taking care of everyone else. So I'm wondering if there's something in there that kind of shares how you've gotten to where you are right now.
It has. A couple of years ago, my daughter, she's 19, about to be 20, but a couple months before she turned 18, she actually moved out. So then I found myself in a position of, oh, I'm not Tristan's mom anymore. I'm I'm not I'm home. I'm by myself. I don't have anyone. I don't have a companion other than my dog. It's just me. And so I'm finding who I am again.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, I, for a little while, spiraled down into a really dark hole. Um, and did like everybody else. I was by myself. I didn't want to burden anyone. I didn't want to appear weak because, I'm a single mom. I have to be strong, and I'm a nurse. I have to take care of everybody. And I realized being lonely sucks. when you have time to sit and think about it,
Mm-hmm.
it sucks. And I had friends, but I didn't, like you said, I don't want to burden. I don't want to do this. But I finally reached out, and after I got a business coach, because I actually started this journey to become a legal nurse consultant. And I did a total 360.
Uh-huh.
That did doing somatic work, working on my insides, on my nervous system, and realizing how much trauma and grief I was holding on to and did not realize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And through working on myself and working through that and realizing vulnerability is not weakness, it is courageous and it is brave and it is needed. My whole world flipped upside down and changed in a year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel loved. I don't feel alone. I now have a husband. I have more children. I still have my days. I mean, it's not all rainbows and glitters, everybody says, but I realize I don't have to do this alone. There are friends, there are family, there is people out there just like me, but we don't realize it because nobody talks about it.
Mm.
In our society, nobody wants to talk about the bad things. Nobody wants to talk about what's in the hidden corner or what's behind the closed door. And being in hospice, I obviously have to address the elephant in the room many times. um, and I realized, I'm actually, I'm kind of good at this. Like,
Mm.
I can talk about death. I can talk about the process. I can talk about grief and loss and make somebody feel like they were seen and heard. And that's where I'm like, okay, this is where my passion is. This is where I want to be. Because once I finally started opening up, I got so much more in return.
Mm.
And I just want to get it back out there. Because, like I said, and nurses are bad because self care is not at the top of our list.
No.
And I
Yeah.
had that double whammy: single mom, nurse, independent. I didn't need nobody. And now that I have kind of stepped away from that identity,
Mm.
I like who I am now.
Mm.
I like being vulnerable because it opens me up to so many more opportunities to see people for where they are and who they are, and to help someone else out of the hole that they're in.
It's interesting as I'm listening to you talk and I think about my own journey, this idea of helping others to be seen and be heard. In order to do that, it starts with us.
Yes.
And it starts with that, not trying to fight back the tears and the shame and the whatever it is that's just brewing right below the surface, but allowing it to rise and come out. And not because we want all the spotlight or the attention on us, but because it allows the other thing that I believe, which is right below the surface, is our true voice.
Yes.
And our heart. And they go hand in hand with that vulnerability that actually makes us more strong than it makes us weak. And so as I think about your summit, and I think about why you might have decided, now I know the reason, but I want our audience to know the reason why this was so important for you to do. And it was a big leap of faith, right? To do it, because who do I get to talk, and where do I find these people, and how do I put this together? It was a whole learning experience on this journey. So share a little bit about the why behind.
And the why is because, well, a lot of it boils down to I want everyone to know they're not alone. Everybody has something they are grieving, and it doesn't have to be death. It can be, well, like with me, my old identity, the
Mhm.
identity I was a year and a half ago of living by myself and being independent to now I'm married. I'm not unhappy of where I'm at, but I can still grieve who I was.
Mhm.
And I can grieve what I thought life was going to be for me, even though what it is right now is so much better than I ever thought. And I think what really kickstarted me into it is I did a podcast with Danielle Margraf, and she's the somatic coach that I was working with.
Mhm.
And after we got done, to share the recording, like it's to share to the public and people I don't know, didn't bother me, but to share it to my family, to let my family know how I felt and what I felt back, a year and a half ago. And that was scary.
Mhm.
That was very scary. And a big one was my mom.
Mhm.
I was afraid for my mom to hear my story of
Mhm.
how I felt my story was. And it wasn't anything against her. It wasn't bashing her as a mother. My childhood was great. My mom is wonderful, but I didn't want her to feel like she did anything wrong.
Mhm.
So I had that guilt of and shame of I don't want to hurt anyone else. But I sent it to my mom and my daughter, and they listened to it. My daughter sent me back, Mom, I'm crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And her thing was that she was so proud of me, and because she could resonate, because she was following my path of being independent and I don't need help. And also my mom sent me a message and said she was so proud of me and that she understood and resonated with so many of the points that I made during that podcast.
Mhm.
And that just floored me that my mom felt the same I did.
Mhm.
Because you look at your mother and your parents are like, they're strong, they're there, and you don't think they've been through what you're through. They
Yeah.
don't think the same things you think.
Yeah.
And it made me realize, oh, well, if I could get a story out to help my mom, what other stories can I get out? And on top of that, the more I tell and the more I talk, the more I heal.
Mhm.
And the more I find out and the more I learn, and I can pass that along to everybody else.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a leap of faith. I just randomly start sending emails to people.
Mhm.
Like I get on Amazon and I look up authors for grief books. I've met several who I now consider friends and colleagues through
Mhm.
watching a TED talk they did.
Yeah.
And they've done this summit with me. And they actually done some compassionate conversations with me last year when I did like master classes.
Mhm.
And from everyone, I learned something.
Mhm.
And I'm able to pass that along and to have someone come back and say, oh, by the way, you telling me that this changed. This
Mhm.
relationship changed. This dynamic changed. My view of where I need to be in life changed.
Mhm.
Is just it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you said, I don't do it to be in the spotlight. I'm actually more of a background kind of girl. It's taking a lot to even be on a camera.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. To have the spotlight on you. I mean,
Yes.
that's huge. And honestly, I spent a good portion of my life on stage, but it was hiding behind another character. It was not myself.
Yeah.
And the same could be said for us as we are growing
Masking.
up and learning is the identities. We're hiding behind the identities that we've attached to who we believe we are And part of the shift and change is when we realize that we are not just a mom. We are not just a daughter. We are not just a nurse. We are not just we are way more than that. We are way more. We are onions that are, we are slowly peeling back the skin of what we've been hiding behind. And I think, there's because I'm a storyteller, the story of Shrek and Donkey saying, "Oh, you're just like an onion," and you peel,
Yeah.
but there's tears that come with peeling onions too, because not all onions and not all people who peel onions are immune to the odors that come, right? And so there's tears and there's change and there's a lot of different things that happen to us on this journey that we call life, right?
And I have
So
cried more in the last year and a half than I think I have my entire life.
yes, and it's interesting because this transition from December to January always for me has tears come up. There's always something that presents itself. And I think I shared in our conversation that it's like it's the next chapter. What is the next chapter? Well, 2026 is the next chapter. And what does that next chapter hold for me? And what will I learn about my human experience? And I know that a year from now, I will not be the same person I am today.
No.
And I think where perhaps you and I might be different than an average person is that we know that. There are a lot of people that don't know that because there's a little bit of intimidation and fear to shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in this journey of learning to be human, which we are doing every single day, there's an element of curiosity that needs to be there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So you shared that you kind of knew that something was shifting and changing when your daughter moved out. Was there, I'm going to use myself and then maybe there's something for you in this that you could share. There was a moment after I had had my third child, and our agreement, my husband's and my agreement, was after I was done having babies, I could go back to work. And there was that moment in time that I went, okay, I'm going back to work. But I didn't want to go back to what I had done before. And so there was that moment in time where I had no idea who I was, what I wanted to do, how I was going to exist. And so I started doing everything I possibly could, and it almost looked like I was running away from my life. And I was like 42, and I was running away from my life. Whatever my life was, I was running away from it. What was it like for you during that time period after your daughter moved out when you realized that things were shifting, changing?
For the first part of it, I went into the hole because I, like you, I didn't know who I was.
Mhm.
I mean, for over, I felt like half my life, I was raising my daughter,
Mhm.
or I was a daughter myself. Like, who am I? What do I like? What hobbies do I want? Because I didn't have time for hobbies. I was a single mom. And so I went into a dark hole for a while because I thought, I don't know who I am.
Mhm.
And if I don't know who I am, then what's the point?
Mhm.
But then finally, when I started working on things, I'm like, oh, I don't have to know. I can
Mhm.
enjoy, I can build a new me. I
Mhm.
don't know who I am now. I know who I was. I don't know who I am now. So find what I like. And I'm like you, I put my hands in everything. I
Mhm.
almost overwhelmed myself with so much. And I
Yeah.
was like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And it was
Oh my
like,
gosh, that look on my
oh,
face,
why do
that
I
was
want
like,
all that?
oh, I was there. So I'm curious, what was the light that came on that said, I need to just try things. I just need to figure it out. What was it that caused that to happen where it went from the darkness to, I like to call it climbing up out of the hole because you know there's a light up there somewhere and you're moving towards the light and that light is life.
What helped was my now husband came back into my life.
Mm.
And we had known each other in my mid 20s. So we had our fling, we were friends, we did whatever, and then we just kind of went our separate ways. He got married, had kids. I just raised my daughter, went to nursing school. He got divorced, so he come back finding me. And I haven't changed for him, but it was like he reminded me of who I was
Mm.
and what I was capable of. Because we all get in this such a I should be here. And you don't look at everything you've accomplished in your life.
Yeah.
You're just worried about what's ahead of you. You don't look at what you've overcome. And he reminded me of everything I overcame, even in my 20s,
Mm.
let alone the last 15 years that we hadn't seen each other.
Yeah.
And to have somebody cheer you on and be your
Mm.
biggest cheerleader, no matter what it is, and no matter how dumb you think you sound. And they may think you're dumb too, but to know you have someone cheering you on and to know you have someone in your corner just makes so much more difference.
Yeah.
And he's a big reason why I went ahead and done the summit, because he said, you've kind of took off for the last year because we were buying a house, selling a house, remodeling, getting
We're
married,
in
doing the wedding.
transition. You were in
Yeah, lots of
transition.
transitioning. And he was like, okay, guess what? You don't have anything to hide behind anymore. So I'm pushing you. And so honestly, he is a big part of that. And I want to be that hand to pull somebody out.
Mm.
I was blessed and somebody come and found me. And I
Yeah.
want to be the hand for someone else if I can be.
Yeah. So, in your conversations with people, as you have been building the platform that will become the summit, what is a thing that you learned in this process that appears to be common amongst many of the people that work with people going through transition and whether it be a grief transition or a career transition or a life transition or a identity, we're all in the midst of an identity crisis, so to speak. Yeah.
There's a couple of common denominators, and one is don't do it alone. That's definitely the big one. And that joy and laughter can exist in the same sense as grief and hurt. You can have both. And your grief journey is your grief journey. It's nobody else's.
Yeah.
Get rid of those shoulds.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell a lot of the families. They're like, oh, ask me, are you okay? Or, oh, I'll talk with them. And they're like, well, I shouldn't feel like this. And I'm like, why? And they just look at me like, what do you mean, why? I'm like, why shouldn't you? Because it's not right. It's not what it's supposed to be. I said, says who? You know, it's because I've noticed people when somebody passes, they'll have that moment of relief.
Yeah.
And it's not relief that the person's dead.
No.
It's relief because they're no longer in pain.
Yeah.
Relief knowing they have peace. But the fact that they feel relieved and they feel guilty because society says you shouldn't be relieved when somebody passes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, it's okay. Everything you're feeling is okay to feel. It's your journey, it's your head, it's your feelings, it's your heart. And
Yeah.
so that's definitely a big one is your journey is yours. Don't let anyone tell you you're doing it wrong because it's not their path.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I often wonder where we as a society, and I think I know the answer, but I often wonder or sit with the question, where did I get the idea, or where did we get the idea that there is a right and a wrong way?
Mhm.
And where did we get the idea that who we are is wrapped up in some sort of value that's external from ourselves? And this whole idea, thou shouldest upon thyself. There's no shoulda, woulda, coulda, because we can't go back in time. We can only go forward. And it's only this moment. And, you know, presence is a big part of the work that I do with people is being in the here and now. And what, if anything, do I have control over? That's the big question is what, if anything, do I have control over other than my own emotional well-being? And the idea that, and again, it's a personal belief that I had that you cannot have joy without sorrow
You can't have light without dark.
because you don't know the difference if you don't have the other. That's the only way we can find the path or the difference. So as I think about, you know, those people that might be listening to us, and if there's something that you would love to offer in addition to the summit, but you personally, Dawn, as a, you know, a hospice nurse and a coordinator of conversations that have compassion and hope at the core of them, what is something that you want the audience to be aware of or something that they could do to move forward as we make a transition into a new year and a new chapter of all of our lives?
The biggest thing is give yourself grace. Turn the guilt and the shame and any of the negative feelings you're feeling, turn them into grace. Because if it was your best friend, what compassion would you give them?
Mm,
You need to give yourself the same compassion
yeah.
and listen to your body because your body, the voices in your head isn't your body.
Yes,
That, that's
100%.
that's your ego telling you what society thinks. Listen to your gut, listen to your body,
Yeah,
and just do what feels right for you, as long as it's not purposely hurting someone else.
right,
Put that in
right,
there.
right. And I think, you know, there's something in that listening to your body. I think our body knows
The
when
body keeps score.
it does keep score. And unfortunately, it's gonna scream and something will happen. I think you and I chatted about this before. It will screech you to a halt
Yes.
when we are not paying attention and listening to what the body is sharing. And you're
Kind of
right.
like a toddler, it will throw a fit until you pay attention to it.
Yeah. 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 So, share a little bit with the audience about the upcoming summit, and I will have links and everything in the show notes. But what is your personal invitation to everyone listening?
It addresses so many different types of grief and different ways to look at it and different tools to help self regulate and to help you cope and get through things in a more healthy way. I have everything from a men's grief coach to Danielle did one with me for somatic purposes and how your body does keep the score, to someone who has survived their partner committing suicide.
Hmm.
And One that I'm going to do that really hit me is the survivor of somebody close to you being a homicide.
Mm,
Basically, a survivor of homicide. They had their partner murdered,
mm,
and there's so many things that you just don't realize somebody could be going through,
yeah.
or you don't even realize you're going through it.
Hmm.
Because there was a lot of things I didn't realize I was still hanging on to until I start listening with compassion and having these conversations and listening to everyone else's journey of grief and hope and what they've learned along their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would hope it gives you definitely how to give grace to yourself
Hmm.
and bring you a little light.
Yeah. And I think too, anytime that you participate in something like this, you have the opportunity to pick up on a tool that someday
I
you
may use
may
it.
be a great resource for another person
Yeah.
and you don't even know it.
The one thing I like to always tell, if nothing else, what I learned from one of my speakers was the choice of words you use with someone. Because in our line of work, it's common to say what triggered you.
Yeah.
Well, that word hurt her because her partner had killed himself. So instead, she uses the word activate.
Hmm.
What is activating your emotions right now? But her telling me that, I am now more cautious of the words that I use with people because you never know
Yeah.
how it can affect someone,
Yeah.
and good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's so many different words that one could use rather than trigger. Trigger becomes a trigger word in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm in a swirl right now, or I am caught up in this spiral that I have no idea where the spiral is coming from. And choice of words is so important. And sometime, and I'm sure you already alluded to this without actually directly saying it, sometimes the best thing that we possibly can do is to just be and listen, whether it be with ourselves or with our partner or with a friend or an acquaintance or someone we don't even know. Yeah,
You don't have to feel the silence.
no, no. And yet our society is afraid of silence. So learning to be quiet as a path to being seen and heard are really important. So I know again it will be in the show notes, but what are the dates of the summit?
The week of January 19th through the 25th.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many per day, but I'm thinking right about 3 or 4 interviews per day will be released throughout the week. Um, and then they're available for so long during the week of the summit. So definitely it's something you need to tune into. You don't
Yeah,
have
and
to watch it right away, but you got a few days to watch it. So
right, right. And there are some free resources for people that they might find helpful. And
yes,
the summit itself is free as well. So that's the
yes,
other thing to keep in mind. So a great opportunity for all of us to open the door to curiosity and learning and healing on the
yes.
way, right? Anything else you would like to share before we finish up today?
Just if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm sure you'll have it. It's over abundanceoflight.com.
Yes.
And I actually do have a free daily journal that you can sign up for. And I'm pretty sure I have it on my website. I I have to
Well,
check the VA for that.
you check that out, and I'll follow up and make sure that we do have a
I'll
resource.
get you the link. I know there's a link, but I'm thinking it's
Perfect.
on my website.
Perfect. That will work, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. Well, Dawn, it was lovely to continue our conversation that we've had a couple over the course of the last month or so. And I look forward to the airing of the summit and learning from all the fellow conversationalists that you had along with me.
Thank you so much for participating and having
Yeah,
me on yours.
absolutely. Thank you. That was such a great conversation. And it was such a great conversation. I let it sit with me for the last week before I recorded this outro. And in that time period, I really sat with some of the things that Dawn and I chatted about, like not having to do it alone. And what does it mean? And for me, that word it is referring to our journey of life. No one is on the ship alone. There are many people that we can welcome aboard to help crew our ship or to help us trim the sails if needed. And if you find that you need that support, the summit that we spoke about might be a great starting place. If you find yourself overwhelmed or challenged by a transition, or maybe something didn't go the way you wanted last year, and you're just right now sitting here this first week of January going, now what? That's not what I thought would happen. I thought I would be here by now. That's what this summit's about. I encourage you to join us. I've got Dawn's free journal as well that you can connect to. If you need to connect with her, feel free to reach out to her in the comments. I will have put her contact information. And as we springboard into the new year, and we're all evaluating what we're doing and how we're living life and how we're living into who we are, I have found that I am making some transitions. So the podcast is moving from Friday to Wednesday. I've had a Substack account, so I have presently some free reflections and musings on this transition time in our calendar and how it can be a great opportunity for us to be open and curious about what might be next. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. If something resonated with you, like and subscribe. If something resonates for you, but for a friend, share. Please do. And I look forward to connecting to you on Wednesdays here on the Creative Connection.